I do not know how many of you are from computer science in the audience section, but even in 2020, C programming language was considered to be the topmost programming language across the world, as per the reports that was actually released. It had left Python, R programming, and Java behind, right? And there is a lot that can be done in C programming, and it is quite possible some of your graduates who graduate from the portals of your engineering college will definitely use C programming or the fundamentals of C programming in their workplace also. So I feel I should map it to lifelong learning, because not necessary that everybody will. So I have mapped it to two. And again, it is not the question of mapping as one, two, or three, or nil. As a course instructor, whatever you write the integer number in this particular correlation matrix, you should be able to justify in front of the committee that is going to visit your college. Now, basically, once you define or draft your course outcomes, right? As I told you in the previous session, course outcomes basically identify the unique knowledge and skills that is expected from the student. And program outcomes are actually one step. They are broader statements that describe what students are expected at the completion of the specific program, right? So that is the fundamental difference between course outcome and program outcome. Now let us look at how this attainment is done. We need to compute the attainment of course outcomes and close the quality loop around the course outcome. So unless and until you do not give the attainment sheet, you do not submit the attainment sheet to your program coordinator or head of the department, the quality loop which hangs around the course outcome is incomplete. That is because the whole philosophy of NBA is to close the quality loop. And that's what I mentioned in the first session on the inaugural day when I spoke about NBA accreditation process, right? So what it means is, as a teacher, you plan, you aim at something, and then you set a target for yourself. And once you set a target for yourself, you follow certain assessment process which you feel is good for your own course. And then after all assessment is over, you calculate the attainment. You calculate the attainment overall for your subject, and also you calculate the attainment for each and every individual student who is studying your course. Please understand this. The committee will be interested in knowing, you as a teacher, do you know the attainment of each and every individual student of your course? It is not the average performance of the students in your course. Please understand this, because you have written in the course outcome the statement that at the end of the course the student will be able to. So when you look at that English, you have said the student will be able to. So you should know whether every individual student of mine, what is his or her attainment with respect to every individual course outcome. It is not on a whole, it is not also average, right? So that also I will tell you in my case study. And then based on the attainment that you have achieved, you should plan the next course of action, because sometimes you may achieve your target, sometimes you may not achieve your target. Also sometimes what happens, you may achieve part and parcel of your target also. So under all these situations, you should be able to draft the plan of action and try to implement it next time when you take this course, so that next time you can land up achieving the target. So let me also tell you that in this entire process of assessment and attainment, it is nothing like this is the only way to do things. So please do not be under impression that whatever Professor Gurupsad has said in this session, or which is a part of this FDP done by Buddha Institute of Technology, this is the only way to do the things. No, not at all. What I am presenting is something that has been appreciated from past couple of years by different sectors in the education field, and it will also justify the course outcome statement. The work that I have done has been high. It's not that I'm boasting, it's highly appreciated by quite good number of people. Experts from NBA have appreciated that yes, this is one of the best way of calculating the attainment. So I am presenting you a complete solution, right? And if you feel it is the easy way of doing it, it will solve the purpose of criteria 3, you will be in a position to showcase a very good show in front of the committee members, then definitely please follow it. Or if you feel there needs to be a change, I can do in a much better way, you are most welcome to modify it and try to build a complete solution for yourself. But keep one thing in mind, that the whole idea is to ensure that you follow the crux of outcome based education. Now when you talk about this attainment, the CO attainment basically comes in two categories. One is called as direct attainment and another one is called as indirect attainment. Now any course you take, you are going to do the assessment pattern. Now what are these assessment patterns and which assessment pattern fits in direct and which fits in indirect? So please listen carefully. This is extremely important because what I'm going to tell you now is a process of calculating the attainment of a particular course. Now throughout the semester, you are going to conduct different assessment for the student. The assessment can be internal test, whether you conduct 2 or 3, that I'm not worried much about. So the assessment can be internal test, it can be assignment, it can be quiz, it can be mini project, it can be seminar, it can be even NPTEL MOOC courses also. Anything like that. And also the final university examination. Okay. So all the internal assessments that you do, plus the final university examination results, all these forms direct attainment. I repeat, all the internal assessments that you do throughout the semester with respect to your course and the university examination results, they are all called as direct attainment. And then indirect attainment is you prepare an exit survey questionnaire for your students and you circulate among your students and ask them to fill the exit survey question, which very rightly is called as course exit survey questions. So that course exit survey question which student fills and submits, that is called as indirect attainment. Of course, I'll show you one sample course exit survey also. So put together this direct attainment and indirect attainment, right? We call it as course outcome attainment. Now, to arrive at that course outcome attainment, see, the direct attainment plays a very, very vital role. Indirect attainment plays a very, very minuscule, very, very tiny role. So what methodology we adopt is we give 90% weightage to the direct attainment and 10% weightage to the indirect attainment. And sometimes what happens, students do not fill the exit survey questions, right? So we'll end up giving him 0 marks in the indirect attainment, correct? And the impact of that 0 will not be too much because just now I said in the overall CO attainment, we are going to consider only 10% contribution from the indirect attainment. Whereas the major contribution comes from direct attainment, which is 90%. Now, before you assess the student, as I told you in the previous session, when you go to the first day of your class in the semester, it's always good practice not to start directly with the subject, but give them some inputs on outcome based education. Tell them about your course and also about your course outcome. And alongside, also tell them the targets that you have set for the students in terms of course outcome attainment. Majority of the students will not understand what you have said on that day, but as time progresses, they will definitely understand what do you mean by attainment, right? So there are different ways of setting the CO attainment targets, which should be discussed, deliberated in the meeting, and it should be ready before you go to the first day of the class. Please understand, you should not set the target for your course outcome after the first internal test is over, right? Because there are a lot of documentary evidences which will tell when you have set your target. Now, when you are setting the target, there are different methods of setting the target. I'm going to probably show you 4 different methods, but it is not that you should follow these methods. You can follow any one of the method that I am suggesting you, or you can follow your own method. Absolutely not a problem. But it is good you stick on to one method for a particular course. The first method, which is considered to be the most easiest way of setting the target, is same target is identified for all the course outcomes of a course, right? So I've just given an example. Let us say I have a course with 5 course outcomes and I have set the target as 60% for each of the course. Now it is quite possible that in your mind a question might be tickling that why I have to set 60%. Again, let me make it clear. It is no hard-bound rule that you should set it 60%. If you want, you set 50%, you set 40%, you set 25%. Absolutely no problem. Neither OB nor NBA nomenclature or literature says that you should set the target this much only. But let me also honestly tell you, with vast experience in education field, if you set the target as, let us say, 40%, I think that you are underestimating yourself. You are underestimating yourself. One thing. Second thing is the minimum requirement. If you want to say that I have graduated in computer science with first class, it sounds good to hear the word first class or first class with distinction or first class with honors. Then it makes sense, to set the target for 60%. Do not underestimate yourself also. But if you feel that I can justify and I can set the target for 50% or 55%, you are still free to do it. Absolutely nobody will stop you or nobody will block you. And let me tell you, if you set the target less than 60%, nothing will happen, right? The NBA committee will still evaluate you. There's nothing that they will not evaluate you. But then keep in mind and please set the target. Second method is you set targets for different COs separately, right? So targets are set for each COs of a course separately. Advantage of finding difficulty of a specific COs. So usually what happens, as and when we proceed in the particular subject from unit 1 to unit 5 or probably module 1 to module 5, the complexity of the subject increases actually. The level of difficulty of the subject increases from the first module to the last module. So what you can do is the first 2 COs can be set at 65%, as my slide tells you. The next 2 course outcomes can be set at 60%. The final course outcome, that is CO5, can be set at 55%. Even this is also allowed. You take a call whether you want to follow method 1 or you want to follow method 2. Both are absolutely fine. Little bit complicated is method 3, right? Where targets are same for all COs of a course and they are set in terms of performance levels of different group of students, right? But the disadvantage of this is it will not provide any clue for improvement of quality of the learning. And if this happens, then you will have a tough time in criteria 7, right? But yes, if you can justify it, if you can spend a little bit more time in calculation and all, then you can still go for method 3 and method 4. So number of students getting less than 50, you set them 20% target, and the last one is grades are equal to 90, you set them 20% target. Method 4 is something like analytic rubrics, where targets are set for each CO of a course for different group of students, right? That means what? Let us say for course outcome 1, I am expecting 10% target for students getting less than 50. 10% of the students in my class, they are getting less than 50. And 10% of the students in my class should get CO1 target as more than 80, right? So this is going to be the next level of the assessment and attainment, correct? So far, even I am also working on method 1 and method 2 very drastically, right? Shortly, I will be also moving to method 3 and 4 and perform a case study of how exactly these type of assessments can help in improving the quality of our education system. Okay, so as a case study, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the method 1, which will be the most easiest way of setting the target, doing the assessment and getting the attainment. Okay, so I'm going to show you now the Microsoft Excel sheet where I'm going to tell how attainment needs to be calculated over a period of time and what is the target that I have set. So this is the case study that I'm going to do. Last time I had taken C programming for problem solving as one of the subject of the Visvesvaraya Technological University, VTU, what we call it as in the state of Karnataka. And here we follow the CBCS scheme where we give importance to internals in terms of 40 marks and external university examination, it carries 60% weightage. So for the case study that I am going to do, I had taken this subject for first year students who were in section I in our college, and I had drafted 5 course outcomes for this particular subject. Now, before I venture into the attainment sheet, let me tell you the course outcome that was actually drafted for my subject. There were 5 course outcomes that were drafted for my subject, and then I took 90% of direct attainment, as I told you earlier, and 10% of the indirect attainment, right? And indirect attainment comes from course exit survey. So these were my questions for the course exit survey. This is how the statement looks like. The course has enabled me to. Now closely observe this particular statement. This particular questionnaire is going to be filled by the student in terms of how he feels he has understood the subject. This has got nothing to do with faculty course outcome. It has got nothing to do with faculty teaching skills, communication skills, and all those skills. Please remember, this course exit survey question is not faculty feedback forum. I repeat, फिर से मैं कहता हूं, course exit survey question is not faculty feedback forum. So a sample course exit survey I have put in front of you. I'll just tell you the first question. The course has enabled me to understand the fundamentals of computer hardware and software. This is what student will ask himself. And this particular question I have mapped to CO1. Again, remember, every course exit survey question, every question that comes as a course exit survey should be mapped to one or the other COs of your course. Because again, your course exit survey is going to play a role in the form of indirect attainment to calculate the final CO attainment. So as you can see on my screen, I have 5 questions here in the first slide, where 2 questions are mapped to CO1. Next 2 questions are mapped to CO2. Similarly, I have 10 questions which are mapped to 5 COs. Each CO, I have 2 questions in course exit survey. Again, it is not mandatory that you should have 10 questions. You frame the questions, any number of questions you frame, but ensure at least for every question, there is at least one CO getting mapped. And it need not be uniform, that I should map only 2 questions for CO1, I should map 2 questions for CO2. No, not required. You can map 3 questions for CO1, you can map 1 question for CO2, you can map 4 questions for CO5, and let us say the total number of questions goes to 11. It is still permitted. You don't need to worry about it, right? But please touch upon, even in course exit survey, please touch upon all the modules that you have taught in your course. Okay. So what we will do is we will go to the Excel sheet, and then we will see how to calculate the attainment and assessment. Yeah, can you see the Microsoft Excel sheet? Please acknowledge.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, fine. So just have a look at this sheet, right? These are my set of students, with their name and USN, and this is the section. Now, The first type of assessment that I did in my section was the test. We had conducted 3 internal tests, test 1, test 2, test 3. And as I told that I had drafted 5 COs, right? In my first test, I covered CO1 and CO2. In my second test, I covered CO3 and CO4. And in my third test, I covered CO4 and CO5. So, as I told, I had drafted 5 COs and I have covered all my 5 COs in internal test. And at the same time, as an alternative assessment tool, I conducted assignment wherein I again asked students certain questions which they should submit as a part of assignment as well as quiz. That was also mapped to CO5, right? Now, what is there in the yellow highlighted cell is the maximum marks that I had asked for the student in that particular CO. And the one which is there in white without color, that is the marks that student have scored in that particular CO in that particular assessment, right? Say for example, if you look at the first student, in the first test, he scored 28 marks out of 30 in CO1, and at the same time, he scored 13 marks out of 20 in CO2. So like that, the marks are given to all the students based on their performance, right? So this is my entire continuous internal evaluation, right? Test 1, test 2, test 3, and assignment, right? This is called as continuous internal evaluation, which is done throughout the semester. And this is a part of direct attainment. Please understand. Continuous internal evaluation and university examination, these two are a part of direct attainment. So what is there in front of you is the continuous internal assessment. Now what happens, since my continuous internal assessment is divided in 2 categories, internal test and assignment, I have CO1 in one of the tests and I also have CO1 in the assignment. Okay, so if you look at these two these two assessment patterns for CO1, in test CO1 is asked for 30 marks and in assignment it is asked for 10 marks, so it is totally 40, and student has scored 28 marks and 10 marks, which is 38. So if you scroll down a little bit right, you will find the performance of the student with respect to continuous internal assessment, which I call it as final CIE, final continuous internal evaluation. So put together all my test and assignment, I can now say the first student has scored 38 out of 40 in CO1, 23 out of 30 in CO2, similarly 34 out of 40 in CO5. Got it? And I call this worksheet, you can look at the bottom left side, I can call this worksheet as CIE test plus assignment, right? So this is the first sheet that you are going to prepare towards your assessment and attainment. And then always understand, do not reinvent the wheel. Please do not reinvent the wheel and do not waste time in doing unproductive work, because there is a saying in English, lot of people waste time in thinking how to kill time. So please don't do it, right? As a teacher, your time is very, very precious. So if you look at this, these are the things I have entered. But then when it comes to this one, the gray colored cell, right? These are all the formulas. You can see in the status bar, right? This one where I have highlighted the cursor, it is E7 plus Q7. And here where the student has got 38, it is F7 plus R7. So what is this F7 and R7? You can scroll down a little bit left and you say this is F7, which is 28. And then when you come to R7, this one, which is 10. So 28 plus 10 will come and sit here as 38. So this entire stuff on the right hand side, which comes in final CI column, this is fully formula based, right? So the moment you enter here, right, it will automatically get updated here. So you don't need to waste time. And then the next worksheet is CI plus SCE. This is my next worksheet. Now here what happens is, I have for every CO, I will have my both the component which plays a vital role in my direct attainment. And what did I say? I said direct attainment is a combination of continuous internal evaluation and semester end examination. Now, this semester end examination is the one which your university conducts, right? So, for CO1, I have both CIE and SCE. Similarly, for CO2, I have CIE and SCE, right? Now, this is very simple. The CI component directly comes from my previous worksheet. Again, I'm not going to redo the work. I'm just going to put a formula here. You see here, this 40 is nothing but coming from this formula called as CI of test plus assignment, which is nothing but worksheet for all those who are well versed with Microsoft Excel. And that 40 has come from a cell called as AB7. Similarly, this 38 also has come from a cell called as AC7. So the beauty of this is the moment you enter here, this gets updated, and alongside this also gets updated. Okay, and I have calculated the percentage for each student in terms of CI. Now, very important component is SCE, that is a university examination. Now, here what happens is, just a second. Yeah. So here what happens is, since we are affiliated institute, right? We are an institute which is affiliated to a university, like how Buddha Institute of Technology is affiliated to AKTU. The question paper comes from the university. The students writes the answer booklet and it gets corrected. And then the university will declare the result, right? Now, when university sends the result, it will tell a particular student has scored, let us say, 76 marks out of 100 in a particular subject. Now, as a teacher, I do not know which are the questions which my student has attempted for which he got 76 marks. Okay, so it is little bit, I don't say little bit difficult, it's actually difficult. It's impossible to find out which all questions he has attempted to get 76 marks. Okay, maybe there might be one or two exceptional cases where student would have put for photocopying of the paper and all, but then it will not solve your purpose. So what the best methodology that can be done is, right, now see here, if you take this particular student, the first student, the one I'm highlighting in red color, he has scored 46 marks out of 60. The breakup which my university follows here is it gives 40% weightage for internal and it gives 60% weightage for external. Of course, the external exam is conducted for 100 marks for 3 hours, but then whatever the student scores is reduced to 60 and then university declares the result. So for 60 or out of 60, this student has scored 46, correct? Now what I have done is I have assigned this 46 out of 60 for this student for CO1. And as I told you the reason, we do not know which question he has attempted, the same benefit of doubt is passed to the student in all the COs. So if you look at CO2, I have again given him 46 out of 60. If you look at CO3, I have again given him 46 out of 60. Similarly, even if I scroll right side, for CO4, I have given 46 out of 60, and for CO5 also, I have given 46 out of 60. So like that, this particular column, which gives the university examination marks, will be common for all the COs. Okay. Now what happens? Look at the first student. His CI performance is 95% and his SE performance is 76.67%. Right? Now, the CO attainment is a combination of direct and indirect. That's what I have told you. And I also told you that direct will constitute 90% and indirect will constitute 10%. Correct? But direct attainment also has got two components. One is internal evaluation, that is CIE, and one is external evaluation, that is SCE. So both this constitutes your 90%, right? But in our university, what they do is they constitute 40% for internal and 60% for external. So what I have done is I have taken 40% of internal performance and 60% of external performance, and I call it as final CO direct attainment performance, right? So please understand this, gentlemen, 40% of 95. Okay, for your benefit, I am going to color it now in a different color. You can check it out. 40% of 95 plus 60% of 76.67. Got it, all of you? I repeat, 95 is his CI performance, 76.67 is his SE performance. Both CI and SE is direct attainment, which will be taken 90% at the next step. But now I am taking 40% of 95 plus 60% of 76.67, that will give 84. So this 84 is nothing but the final direct attainment of that particular student in CO1. Got it? I repeat, 84% is the direct attainment in CO1 of my first student. It is not the final CO attainment, right? I have to still tell you course exit survey. Similarly, his direct attainment for CO2 is 76.67, then you have 84, and like that. So like this, you follow it for all the students. So this particular worksheet has taken care of direct attainment. Now, exit survey. I had shown you the exit survey questions, and then these are the exit survey response by the students. If you look at the first student, he did not fill the exit survey form. So my Excel sheet will automatically consider him as 0. On the other hand, these are the students who have filled the exit survey. Okay. So once you fill the exit survey and get the information, you please fill this particular sheet for all the students. And those students who have not submitted, you can ask them to submit the exit survey. But despite you people telling 2 to 3 times, if they don't submit, just ignore it. Nothing to worry much, because indirect attainment only constitute 10% of your overall CO attainment, as I said earlier. Then what you do is, very important sheet of your Excel is final CO attainment. This is your final CO attainment, correct? Now have a look at this student whom I am showing you in green color, right? Or rather I'll show you in some other color. Okay, red color, right? Now here I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to enter anything. Everything is formula based, right? Now CO1, direct attainment and indirect attainment. Similarly for all other COs. And FCOA is nothing but final CO attainment, which will come from 90% direct attainment and 10% indirect attainment. Now CI plus SE, this is what is the 84%. You look at this. 84%, as I told you earlier, was the direct attainment of my first student in CO1. So this 84% will directly come and sit here automatically. You don't need to do anything. And exit survey, this fellow did not fill the exit survey. So his CO1 exit survey is 0%. It comes and sits here, right? Similarly, when you look at the second student, she was a good student who got 81% as direct and 100% as indirect. Now, for the calculation of final CO attainment, I have taken 90% of direct attainment, because most of the assessment is done, through through physical presence in the test, assignment, and university examination and all. So more weightage should be given to the direct attainment, right? You can still give 85-15 also. There's no hardbound rule, but I follow this methodology of giving 90% as direct attainment and 10% as indirect attainment, because sometimes, I have seen people giving more importance to indirect attainment, and they say that in my course 75% is given to direct attainment and 25% is given to indirect attainment. See, I'm not telling it is written somewhere that you should not give like that. There's no literature which tells like that. But the fact is, it is quite possible that the committee may say that you have given 25% to indirect attainment, so that you can improve your final CO attainment, right? So to balance it, a very reasonable approach, a professional way of looking at attainment is give 90% to direct attainment and 10% to indirect attainment. So when I consider 90% of 84 and 10% of 0, this particular student gets the final CO attainment for CO1 as 75.60. Okay, 75.60 I can now say is the CO1 attainment of my first student. Similarly, I get CO2 attainment, CO3 attainment, CO4 attainment, and also CO5 attainment, not only for this student, but also all the students. Got it? I had 62 students. This is how I get the blue colored cell is nothing but the final CO attainment of that particular student. And at the bottom, I also have, right, the average CO attainment of that particular CO of my course. 76.94 was my CO1 attempt, sorry, CO1 attainment in my subject which I had taken in the last semester. 74.47 for CO2, similarly 78.12 as CO5. And then what you do is you can find the average CO attainment of all the COs, which is there in the green colored cell, right? So the average CO attainment of this student is 71.04, right? And this is the beauty of the Excel, right? This is the beauty of my work, where this particular column, which I have highlighted in front of you now, I can just highlight it in red color for you. This one, this will justify my statement which I told earlier, that I had said at the end of the course, student will be able to. Now this column will tell me how many students of mine have achieved which all course outcomes. Since my target was 70%, right? Now this particular student has achieved CO1, CO3 and CO5, but he could not achieve CO2 and CO4, right? I'll just show you by unhiding this actually. So you look at this, I'll hide unwanted stuffs. Okay, so if you look at this sheet now, you look at this blue colored cells, right? The first CO attainment of this student is 75.6. So this becomes yes. The second CO is 69%. So it is no, because my target is 70%. This is 75.6, which is greater than 70, which is greater than my target. So he has achieved third CO. Fourth CO, his performance was 63%, which is less than my target. So I say this fellow has not achieved fourth CO. And fifth CO is above 70. So he has achieved fifth CO. So this is how it is. This particular row, columns which tell me which CO he has achieved, and this cell will tell me the total number of COs this particular student has achieved. And if I scroll down, I will get all the details of my students in terms of who all have achieved how much percentage and whether they have achieved my target that I had set. So if you look here, since I have 62 students in my class, right? This is where you see these two are one of those 14 students. These two are one of those 14 students who have not achieved. And 77.42% of my students have achieved CO1. That is 48 out of 62 will give me 77.42. And at the same time, see, this is how I'm going to justify in front of the committee, correct? Because committee, I have this personal experience when committee visited to my campus. They asked me how many students have achieved your target that you have set. So I'll end up justifying them with this Excel sheet. Of course, what I do is after performing all this Excel sheet, I'll prepare a report and I'll spiral bind and I'll keep it so that it becomes more useful for the committee member to have a glance at it, right? And it's always good, there is always a technique for presentation. The more beautiful, the more professional you present, right? It will be a smooth flow for you during those 3 days visit. So out of 62 students, this particular column tells me, the red colored one now, 34 students have achieved all the 5 COs, 10 students have achieved 4 COs, 4 students have achieved 3 COs, and still I have 8 students in my class who did not achieve any CO, right? Now please understand, when I say that 8 students are there in my class who did not achieve any CO, does not mean that their attainment is 0%. No, they have not achieved any CO means they have not achieved the target of 70% set by me, right? It is quite possible. See, you look at, let me take a case of this particular student. There are two students here I'm showing you who have not achieved any target, any COs. Look at their performance. This fellow's CO1 performance is 69.3. He is a borderline case with respect to my target. But 69.3 is not greater or equal to 70. And inevitably, I have to tell that this particular student has not achieved my target. Right? So it is not 0%. Please understand. It is he has not achieved 70%. So when you sum up this particular column, it gives me total number of students. And then the last step in this is to find out the PO attainment level. This is my CO-PO matrix, which I had shown you in the PowerPoint slide. Of course, I have mapped it to PO1, PO2, PO3. I have mapped it to PO8. I have mapped it to PO12. Right? Now, how is this PO attainment level calculated? Right? Now, I take the average CO attainment of that particular student, the mapping strength of CO-PO average, right? Now, this is the average mapping strength, which is 3, 3, 2, and then 2 and 2. So the average mapping strength for PO1 is 3. So that will come here, right? And then attainment is nothing but the average mapping strength divided by 3. Because why 3? Because 3 is the highest correlation level that will be there in your CO-PO matrix. You will not find any integer number more than 3 in your CO-PO matrix. So that divided by the average CO attainment. Now, here, if you look at CO-PO, the PO1 maps to all the COs. Now, this you have to be careful. In my case, PO1 maps to all the 5 COs. If it maps to all the 5 COs, I need to take the average of all the 5 COs. Look at this. The first fellow's average is 71.04, and hence what happens? 71.04 will sit here, correct? But suppose if my PO1 does not match to CO5, okay, does not match to CO5, it matches to only first 4 COs. That is CO1, CO2, CO3, CO4. At that situation, what you should do is the average CO will be the average of first 4 COs only. You cannot consider 5th CO. So it will be average of 75.6, 69, again 75.6 and 63, which comes out to be 51.39. In which case that 51.39 will sit here automatically. Okay. So this is how you do it. And then you calculate the attainment level, right? The attainment which you get in out of 100, you have to scale it down to 3 because 3 is the highest correlation level. And then now I say 2.13 is the PO1 attainment level of my first student. PO2 is 2.13. Similarly, next student is 2.47. Next student is 2.04. So like that, you calculate the PO attainment level of all the students, right? So like this, as a teacher, you should do it for your subject, and then all teachers will do it for their subjects, which will be done for the semester. And these details, you should send it to criteria 7, where you talk about more on PO attainment target set and PO attainment target achieved. And then if you have not achieved any target, what is the continuous improvement that you are going to do it? Okay. So more on that, my colleague will be telling you in the afternoon session. Okay. So this is the presentation of mine as far as theory is concerned. I may require some more time, 10 to 15 minutes to present on the practical aspect, but I will leave now the platform open for a minute or so. If you have any doubt in the calculation of the attainment, please feel free to ask. Let me once again tell you, this is the entire crux of your NBA visit. No faculty will be spared in criteria 3. So please go ahead in asking me questions. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir.
They can post the question in the chat box. Let me check it out. There are no questions in the chat box. Okay. I hope things are clear, and I hope all of you as teacher, you know when students don't ask question, right? Either when the student have understood everything or the student has not understood anything, right? These are only two situations when audience don't ask questions, right? And you are all learned people. I am sure you are all in the first category. Yeah,
So there is
yeah,
one question in the chat box.
yeah. How one can calculate level? See, the calculation of the level is, there is a formula, right? So I'll show you the formula. This is the formula where the attainment percentage is divided by 100 and it is multiplied by 3. That is how you calculate the level, because the highest correlation level is 3. So no student should have the level more than 3. And also common sense, his level should not be even less than 0. So the level attainment of any student should be between 0 to 3. Yeah. Any other question? All right. Sachidanand, can we proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
As per
Just,
your order, sir.
yeah, sure. Just give me a few seconds. I need to change my Excel sheet.
Okay.
Yeah, kindly acknowledge. Can you see my Excel sheet?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Now, this is my lab attainment. Okay. Now, lab attainment is a little bit more, I don't say complicated, but it is a little bit lengthier. Okay. So I have done this for my C programming lab where we had 14 questions. I'm sorry, 14 lab programs. And you can see that each of my lab program was mapped to some or the other COs that we had written for lab. So the quadratic equation program was mapped to CO1. The palindrome program was mapped to CO1. Now, we have this lab component where we evaluate students on a weekly basis. For every program that he executes every week, he has to give a write-up, he has to conduct, he has to undergo a viva, and he has to write the output and fill up the manual in all components, right? And the marks breakup every week, he can get maximum 30 marks. Write-up is 8, conduction is 8, viva is 4, and for a record or manual is 10 marks. Now, this is our rubrics, analytic rubrics, which I had covered you in the morning session, right? Of course, in my Excel sheet, I have not given the breakup of the rubrics, but yes, my teaching learning process, my teaching learning component, which I am justifying in criteria 2, I have this breakup of my rubrics, right? So 8, 8, 4, 10, which is 30 for every program that the student does. And these are the marks of all my students. Then what I have done is I have calculated the total marks, right? Of course, it comes here only, right? All the breakup, weekly breakup is done in this sheet. And then what happens, the student goes to the lab examination, which is called as lab internal exam. So what we do is our lab assessment takes place like this. Every week, student does a program, he will be evaluated, and there will be one internal examination that we conduct, and then student goes to the university examination, that is final. So the first CI is nothing but the continuous internal evaluation done on a weekly basis, and also the internal test, which you can see here, which I am highlighting in the red color. Now look at this. This is the 14 program marks which the student has got, which comes from the previous worksheet. So you don't need to enter it here. Once you fill this column, automatically it will come and sit in the next worksheet. So these are the marks of the students for 14 programs, and all these programs are mapped to COs. As I told, I had 5 COs, both for theory and lab. And of course, let me also make it one point very clear. The 5 course outcomes which I had drafted for theory is not same which I have drafted for lab. They are different course outcomes for theory and lab. Okay, you cannot have same. So these are the marks of my 14 programs. And then what happens? Let me just hide some columns for you. And then the student has undergone the lab internal. Now in lab internal, this is the breakup which we follow as per university regulations, that part A will be for 30 marks and part B will be for 70 marks. Now he has to do 2 programs in the lab internals, one program from part A and one program from part B. Okay, so this first student got program number 2 and these are his marks. Okay, 14 marks totally out of 30. And in part B, he got program number 14 and this is his marks, 30 out of 70. Okay, so please keep this in mind for a few seconds, program number 2 and program number 14. Okay, now why this is important is program number 2 and program number 14 belongs to different COs. One thing. And second thing is, if you look at this second student, he got program number 6 in part A. So it is quite possible that program number 6 will be mapped to a particular CO which is same as program number 2. And hence I am doing proper justification of attainment. Please understand. You cannot simply put the marks obtained by the student to any CO of your choice. No, you will be caught and you will be justified. And you will be asked for justification. And if you do not do justification, the committee member will simply write a statement that COs are drafted, but assessment and attainment is not carried out properly. And you will end up losing marks. How many marks you will lose? I'll tell you in the Sunday session, where I'm going to tell you separate, program number 3, 7, 2, again they are all separate. So now what happens, you look at this first student, program number 2, he has scored 14 marks. Please keep this in mind, program number 2, 14 marks, and program number 14, 30 marks. Now what happens, look at this sheet. This is the beautiful sheet of my work. This program number 2 maps to CO1. He has scored 14 marks. That is what I have written here. See here, highlighted red color. CO1, 14 marks. And then every student who has got program number 2, their marks will be mapped to CO1 only. Look at this. Again CO1. This is also CO1, program number 2. Of course, you have program number 3 also, which is mapped to CO1. But that's a different story. And then program number B, sorry, part B, that fellow did program number 14. Program number 14 belongs to CO5. Understand? Program number 14 belongs to CO5. So if you look at this particular row for a particular student in internal test, his marks will be put in front of only one CO. Please understand. If you look at part A, this is written here, which belongs to CO1. It is not written for CO2 and CO4 for simple fact that program number 2 belongs to CO1. Similarly, part B also, program number 14 belongs to CO5 and hence the marks are not written for other COs. So you have to be extremely careful in allotting the marks in this particular cell. And the weekly evaluation, the student marks automatically comes and sits here when you fill the first sheet, right? So for CO1, he has scored 143 marks out of 150 in weekly evaluation and 14 marks out of 30 in the internal test. So what happens? Let me hide these things. Okay, now you look at it, the CO1 143 out of 150 and 14 out of 30. So this 150 plus 30 becomes his maximum, which is 180, the one that I'm highlighting on the right side of your screen, right? And his score in continuous evaluation is 143 and in internal test it is 14. So 143 plus 14 is again 157 highlighted on the right side. So I can say this fellow internal evaluation, that is continuous internal evaluation, he has scored 157 out of 180 with a score of 87.22 percentage. So this particular columns of mine which I have highlighted to you, which I have selected for you, this will give final CIE of my student with respect to the lab. Okay, final CIE of my student, only final CIE. I have to still talk about external examination. Now in the external examination also, it is same as theory procedure. Okay, so there is no change in the lab external examination and theory external examination. Since we do not know which program he writes, because examiners may be different, you may not go as an examiner for all the students you have taught. It purely depends upon the allotment which university sends to you. Okay, so this is what the procedure I have followed. For theory and lab, it is the same procedure. So you see here student getting 50 out of 60. So I have mapped even for CO2, I have mapped even for CO3. So I will not explain you this once again. So again, I have calculated 40% of CIE, no change again here, and 60% of SCE. So 40% of 87.22 and 60% of 83.33 will give 84.89. So this 84.89 is the direct attainment of CO1 of my student in the lab. I repeat, this 84.89 is the direct attainment of CO1 of my student in the lab component, in the lab course. And again, you have to take exit survey also for this, because in my previous session, I have told you that course outcomes are drafted for both theory and lab, and hence assessment and attainment should also be done for both theory and lab. So the procedure of course exit survey is same. Draft the questions, map to COs. Now you look at this. I have drafted 3 questions which belongs to CO1, 2 questions for CO2. Incidentally, I had drafted only 1 question for CO3. Now you may have this doubt, why 3 questions for CO1 and 1 question for CO3? Because when I looked at my course outcomes which were mapped to the programs, I found that very less programs were mapped to CO3. So in exit survey also, I gave less preference to CO3. On the other hand, I gave more preference to CO1. So I sent this, this questionnaire to the students in the form of Google form, and they had filled and submitted, and then I downloaded, and then this is what I could get it. And then my final CO, the worksheet looks same as that of theory. So I take 90% of direct attainment, and I take 10% of indirect attainment, and then I call it as final CO attainment. So I have all the 5 COs here for all my students. And again, same thing. I had kept a target of 70% in the theory, but then for the lab, I had target of 75%, right? So that is what the, usually I follow in my subjects. My lab components will be minimum 5% more than my theory component. And if you look at this first student, the first student has achieved all the 5 COs. That student's performance is more than 75% in all the 5 COs, and hence I can say this student has achieved all my 5 COs. So when you scroll down, you'll get the same thing. In this lab component, of course, this lab component was for a different section. I had 61 students there, where I can say 54 students achieved CO1, 56 students achieved CO2. And the number of students who achieved all the 5 COs were 51. And still here also in the lab, I had 5 students who did not achieve any CO, right? Of course, the same explanation holds good. It means that these 5 students did not achieve my target of 75%. So I will revert back to my PowerPoint and I'll wind out my session in next 5 to 6 minutes. So if you have any doubt in the lab component, please go ahead.
गुड आफ्टरनून सर. सर एक डाउट हल्का सा है.
अरे बिल्कुल पूछिए साहब.
सर एक्चुअली एकेटीयू में जो रिजल्ट्स बनते हैं हम लोगों के वो सर इंटरनल एक्सटर्नल का रहता है. इंटरनल पे रहा और एक्सटर्नल मार्क्स को हो गए. तो अगर हमारे 100 मार्क्स का एक्सटर्नल रहा, 50 का इंटरनल रहा, इंटरनल पे हमारी मैपिंग होती है क्लास टेस्ट, टीचर असेसमेंट एंड अटेंडेंस का 30-10-10 का रहता है सर उस पे जो है. तो अब हमको जो मार्क्स सर स्टूडेंट का डिक्लेयर हुआ रिजल्ट, उस पे इंटरनल रहे आउट ऑफ 50 और एक्सटर्नल रहे आउट ऑफ 100 या 70-30 जैसा भी सिलेबस करा. अब सर ये 50 में हमारा कंटेन कर रहा है अटेंडेंस फैक्टर भी. अच्छा सर कुछ बच्चे सर अब इसमें जैसे सीओस की बात रही, हम लोगों ने वैसे बेसिकली टेंडेंसी ये रहती है बच्चे 12th के बाद आते हैं एनुअल पैटर्न से सेमेस्टर पैटर्न पे जब टर्नओवर होते हैं तो उनको हम लोग पहले 2 टेस्ट तो ले लेते हैं सर. उसके बाद फिर एक एंड सेमेस्टर एग्जामिनेशन कि आपको कैसे के ट्यूब में बैठना है, किस हिसाब से करना है. तो उसमें सर हम लोग पूरा पेपर उसी के पैटर्न पे बनाते हैं और उसी के हिसाब से करते हैं. तो खैर वो सर सीओ की तो सर सीओ मैपिंग तो हो गई. अब ये जो हम जब सीओ मैपिंग पे चलेंगे, जो इंटरनल की मैपिंग है, तो ये तो 50 पे रहा जिसमें सर अटेंडेंस भी इंक्लूड है. इवन सर कुछ बच्चे ऐसे भी होते हैं जो मतलब उनकी हमें स्केलिंग भी बाद में करनी पड़ती है कि उतना नहीं अप टू द मार्क आ पाए, तो उसको एक्सेल शीट में फिर कैसे मैनिपुलेट सर कर सकते हैं?
अच्छा सर ये तो बहुत सिंपल है. जो आप स्केलिंग करते हो वो स्केलिंग आप सभी सीओ के लिए कर लीजिए.
ठीक है.
जो आपका अटेंडेंस मार्क्स है, जैसे आपका अटेंडेंस मार्क्स कितने का है
सर? 10 मार्क्स के अटेंडेंस रही, 10 का टीचर असेसमेंट रहा और 30 का क्लास टेस्ट रहा.
सर जो टीचर असेसमेंट है और जो क्लास टेस्ट है वो तो आप सीओ को मैप कर ही लेंगे.
जी.
हाँ. अब बचा सवाल अटेंडेंस का है.
जी सर.
अब होता क्या है, जो आप 10 मार्क अटेंडेंस को देते हैं वो पूरे सेमिस्टर अटेंडेंस के लिए देते हैं ना.
हाँ ये सर फुल सेमेस्टर रहता है सर.
तो थ्रू आउट द सेमिस्टर आप उसको अटेंडेंस देते हैं, इसका मतलब थ्रू आउट द सेमिस्टर आप पूरे सीओस टच तो करते हैं ना.
जी यस सर.
तो आप क्या करिए, जैसे कोई स्टूडेंट को आपने 8 मार्क दिया 10 के लिए.
जी सर.
राइट. तो उस 8 मार्क आप सभी सीओस को डाल दीजिए. 8 आउट ऑफ 10, 8 आउट ऑफ 10, 8 ऑफ 10 सभी सीओस को डाल दीजिए.
जी.
तो कोई प्रॉब्लम.
अच्छा.
क्योंकि आपको कौन से क्लास में क्या पढ़ाया, क्या सीओ पढ़ाया, ये बहुत दिक्कत वाली काम है.
जी सर.
इसलिए आप क्या करिए, 8 out of 10 you give it to all COs so that you have done proper justification for his attendance.
ठीक है सर. सर एक और छोटा सा
बिल्कुल.
इस पे जैसे सर सीओ की मैपिंग हो गई, फिर सीओ से हम पीओ पे गए सर. जैसे आप सीओ से पीओ पे गए, आपने 1 2 3 करके
सर आवाज नहीं आ रही है
सर. सीओ की मैपिंग पे जैसे गए, सीओ से पीओ की मैपिंग, इस तरह सीओ की मैपिंग कर ली हम लोगों ने. अब सीओ से पीओ पे जब जा रहे हैं तो आपने अपने पर्टिकुलर सब्जेक्ट में 1 2 3 6 एंड 12 को मैप करा दिया और एक में कह दिया सर 3 है, फिर 2 है, फिर 1 है. 12 पे जैसे सर 1 का गया. तो इसके लिए आपने मतलब क्या क्राइटेरिया अपना कोर्स आउटकम्स को लेके फिर पीओ पे गए थे कि नहीं सर ये इससे मैप करेगा और ये इसका 3 पे जाएगा, ये 2 पे जाएगा, ये 1 पे जाएगा, ये स्केल सर कैसे डिसाइड करेंगे?
हाँ सर ये तो बहुत ही बढ़िया क्वेश्चन है. एक्चुअली बहुत सारे लोगों को ये डाउट है. राइट सर. उसके लिए क्या करना चाहिए, पहली बात आपको प्रोग्राम आउटकम बहुत अच्छी तरह समझ में आना चाहिए
जी.
एंड योर प्रोग्राम आउटकम्स इन एनबीए इज प्योरली ऑन ग्रेजुएट एट्रीब्यूट्स.
जी.
जैसे मानो आपका जो पहला वाला प्रोग्राम आउटकम है दैट इज इंजीनियरिंग नॉलेज. अब इंजीनियरिंग नॉलेज जो है वो बहुत ही मायने रखता है स्टूडेंट के ग्रेजुएशन के लिए
सर.
तो कोई भी सब्जेक्ट उसका नॉलेज तो रहना बहुत जरूरी है.
हाँ,
वो ये नहीं कह सकता कि सर मैं थोड़ा सा पढ़ूंगा, कम पढ़ूंगा, नहीं कर सकता है. तो जैसे आपको पता चला कि इंजीनियरिंग नॉलेज इज गोइंग टू बी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर योर सब्जेक्ट, आप उसको 3 में डाल दीजिए.
ठीक है सर.
राइट. लेट अस से मैं आपको और एक एग्जांपल देता हूँ. जैसे सर आपका कोई सब्जेक्ट है, फॉर एग्जांपल क्या बोले हम,
मैथमेटिक्स ले लेते हैं सर.
चलिए सर मैथमेटिक्स ले लेते हैं हम. राइट. अब आपका जो PO5 है एनबीए में दैट इज कॉल्ड एज मॉडर्न टूल यूसेज.
सर.
अब मॉडर्न टूल यूसेज, जैसे अब मैं कंप्यूटर साइंस का प्रोफेसर हूं, हम
सर।
लोग कुछ मॉडर्न टूल्स यूज करते हैं बच्चों के लिए लैब में।
सर,
अब मैथमेटिक्स में हो सकता है आप करें या ना करें,
सर,
राइट? अगर आप कोई टूल यूज नहीं कर रहे हो, आपका
सर।
आप भी नहीं कर रहे हो और आपके बच्चे भी नहीं कर रहे हो, तो
सर,
मॉडर्न टूल यूसेज आपका 0 बन जाता है।
जी।
हाँ, और मानो कि आप मैटलैब यूज करते हो अपने क्लास में,
जी।
राइट? अब ये पता करना चाहिए कि अब ये तो है कि आप ही बताएंगे इसका आंसर, ये पता करना चाहिए कि आप मैटलैब किस हद तक यूज कर सकते हो आपके सब्जेक्ट में,
सर।
राइट? अब आप बोलते हैं कि सर मेरे पास 5 मॉड्यूल है पढ़ाने के लिए, जिसमें मुझे मैटलैब की जरूरत सिर्फ 3 मॉड्यूल को पड़ती है, दैट मीन्स इट इज नॉट 100%।
सर,
सो योर यूसेज इज ओनली 3 मॉड्यूल्स आउट ऑफ 5, तो जिसका हो गया 60%।
60 सर।
तो 60%, तो आप एक काम कर लीजिए कि 60% ऑफ 3, बेनिफिट ऑफ डाउट यू कैन मैप इट टू 2।
टू
हाँ, राइट?
सर,
और नहीं
सर।
सर हम 60% नहीं करते, हम सिर्फ 25 या 30% करते, तो उसको 1 कर दीजिए।
1 सर।
हाँ, और एक है सर, मैं आपको फ्रैंकली बता देता हूं कि
जी।
जो आप 3 बोलते हैं वो मेरे लिए 2 भी हो सकता है,
सर।
जो आप 2 बोलेंगे वो कमिटी वाले को 3 भी हो सकता है, करेक्ट?
जी,
तो
सर।
ये जो है मैपिंग, इट इज अ नेवर एंडिंग डिस्कशन इन द वर्ल्ड ऑफ आउटकम बेस्ड एजुकेशन,
सर,
राइट? तो इसमें कोई ज्यादा दिक्कत वाली बात नहीं है,
सर।
लेकिन दिक्कत वाली बात तभी आती है कि जब आप यूज कर रहे हो और
सर।
आपने मैपिंग 0 दे दिया,
0 सर।
ये दिक्कत आती है बस।
जी, बस। थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू।
वेलकम सर, वेलकम। Any more doubts? I would love to answer this because please understand, once again I am reiterating, it's extremely important that criteria 3, every one of you should be aware to a very large extent. No faculty member will be spared from criteria 3 when NBA committee comes to your institute. Okay, if there are no doubts, I will go back to my PowerPoint and wind out the session in next 5 to 6 minutes. Sorry for that delay because it was very much required a delay. I'm just shifting my presentation. Yeah, kindly acknowledge. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So that was the brief about all my targets. And then what I do is in my summary report, I write like this. Each CO target set was 70% and this is what I have achieved. And there is something called as attainment gap, which plays a very vital role at the end of the core criteria 3, and it plays a vital role at the beginning of criteria 7. So the attainment gap is calculated as achieved minus set target. So if you look at my attainment of first CO, target was 70% and achieved is 76.94. So 76.94 minus 70 is 6.94. So if the attainment gap is positive, it means that I have achieved my target. If the attainment gap is negative, that means that I have not achieved my target. Okay. Now, sir, इससे होता क्या है? Achieve करे तो क्या होगा, नहीं करे तो क्या होगा, correct? Now, please understand that if you have achieved your target of 70%, then the outcome-based education expects you to increase your target for the next time. Next time, when you take this subject, your target should be more than 70%. Correct? That is very, very important. होता क्या है कि आपने टारगेट 70% रखा और आपने 76.94 अचीव कर लिया, तो दुनिया क्या बोलती है कि भाई जब आपकी औकात 76% है तो आप 70 के पीछे क्यों पड़े हो? When you are capable of doing higher and larger things in your life, why you want to compromise on smaller things? तो अगर मुझे किसी ने पूछा कि what will be your target next time, मैं बोलूंगा भैया मेरा टारगेट है 77% next time, because I have already achieved 76.94, so my target will be now 77%. On the other hand, if you don't achieve your target, then जैसे मानो अभी फर्स्ट CO 70% है और आपको मिला 68%, that means you have not achieved the target. Then what you should do? You should put efforts to improve your target. You should put efforts to achieve that target. इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि आप अगले साल या अगले सेमेस्टर में उस टारगेट को कम कर दो. You should not reduce your target that you have set, right? Because the target that you have set is approved by the program assessment committee it is ratified by the program assessment committee and it is approved by department advisory board of your department, which I will tell you in the final year, on the final day of the FDP. These two committees are very, very important of your department, and I will also tell you who are going to be a part of that particular committee. तो उस कमिटी ने आपका 70% अप्रूव कर दिया है, तो आप उसको 68 नहीं कर सकते हैं, राइट? अगर आप 68 कर देंगे तो कंटिन्यूस इंप्रूवमेंट तो पूरा भाड़ में गया हो. योर क्राइटेरिया 7 विल गो टू अ टॉस टोटली, राइट? सो you should retain your target as 70% and you have to ensure that you put efforts in the forthcoming semester as to how you are going to improve your target. How you are going to improve and achieve your target that you have set. So that is what I said. You have achieved your target. So this is what I always take it as a printout and keep it in my report, the outcome of all my Excel sheet, which will be very handy and it will be very good, a very professional way to show it to the committee members. And believe me, if you present yourself very professionally, very politely, you are bound to get your NBA. NBA accreditation getting is not tough. I'm telling you very honestly. It just requires team efforts and a constant guidance and flow. Bas, ek saal mein you can prepare all the documents, ensure it is in proper place, you can apply for NBA and you will get it. It's just a matter of time actually. I have faced 4 NBA committees and all the committees I have a very good experience of how to defend your documents actually. So this is all it is. And coming to the action plan, that's what I have told you. Action plan needs to be very specific. You should tell what type of physical resources you require, what type of learning resources you require. You can improve the lab hours if students do not perform in the lab. If you want, you can change the lesson plan, but don't tell. See, the committee will ask you, you have not achieved the target, तो आपने किया क्या है? And sometimes faculties land up telling the statement like, sir, I am going to motivate the students. No, that is very wrong statement. It's a very vague statement, because motivate the students, how do we measure it actually, right? Sir, I am going to work hard. No, avoid these type of statements, right? And one more thing is, any action plan that you decide to do it, get it reviewed by the expert member of that particular subject. Expert member can be from your own department, senior faculty member, or any expert, doesn't matter. Across the world, you can talk to any expert in that field and get it reviewed and also have documentary evidence for that. So this is my calculation of the PO attainment. One of the gentlemen was asking me about 3-2-1, how to calculate the PO attainment. So this is what it is. Of course, I have shown you this in the form of Excel. So I'm going to, skip the PowerPoint presentation. Right. So let me conclude that the assessment and attainment. Please keep in mind, my dear faculty members, course outcomes must be the target in all exams and assessments. Whether you are talking about internal test, you're talking about assignment, you're talking about attendance, course outcomes must be the target. Second, quality of the exams refer to the degree to which these assessments actually measure the course outcomes. And last thing is, assessments that do not measure what your course outcomes were, they are considered to be the poor quality test. And let me tell you, if you fall in this third category, your criteria 3 has gone to a toss. You will not get any marks in criteria 3. And if you don't get any marks, or if you get very, very, very less marks in any criteria, your NBA target of 600 points out of 1000 minimum, which is required to get accreditation, you will never see that your department is accredited. So to conclude my session, determining the strength to which COPO is addressed and computing the attainment are approximations at its best. As I told you, there's no specific way of setting the target, no specific way of attainment calculation. Whichever you do, as long as you can justify outcome-based education, then it is best. What is important is to follow one method across the program, and that is very important, right? If Department of Computer Science Engineering in your college is following one method, let all the semesters of that department follow the same method. It can differ from program to program, but it is a good methodology that within the department you follow the same pattern of assessment and attainment. And last, once you have achieved anything in your life, strive for continual improvement in attainment. It holds good even in your day-to-day professional career. Correct? You join engineering college today as an assistant professor, and then you complete your PhD, you are promoted as associate professor, and after a couple of services of associate professor, you are looking for professor post. That is what is called as continuous improvement. There has to be a continuous improvement in your personal life as well as professional life. And that's what my last point says. Strive for continual improvement in attainment and demonstrate the improvements with evidence. So to conclude, let me tell you this, that writing COs and linking them to teaching and learning activities and further to the assessment is a process, and it is not an event that will happen one day. It is a continuous process. Thank you very much. Any questions? Looks
Any
like
questions, please? Any question, please?
okay. All right. Thank you for your patience listening, and you have my email ID and mobile number. If you have any doubts, you can directly route it to me, or you can route it through the coordinator from Buddha Institute of Technology, Professor Ankur and Professor Sachidanand Chaturvedi. Right? And I'm sorry that I have taken 10 minutes more of your precious time, but let me tell you that 10 minutes more was worth spending with all of you. Thank you very much, and please take care of yourself.
Thank you so much, sir, for this informative session. Thank you from the Buddha Institute of Technology, and being the organizing committee member, I am very thankful to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ankur.
We'll meet you all once again at 2:30 p.m. and the link will be shared very shortly. Thank you.